Hi all, and welcome to the 10th episode of the podcast Bitcoin as a Store of Value. Hi Francesco, how are you doing?
Hi, that's fine. It's just another day in the Bitcoin space, but looking good.
Hey Rajat, happy to have you here.
Hey, Alessandro. Sorry about that. I got stuck with something.
No
Sorry
problem,
for
no
being
problem.
late there. How's it
Good.
going?
Yeah, going good. All good here. Yes, we were discussing with. Meanwhile, we were discussing with Francesco about the news for empty goats and Ethereum ETF. How are you
Okay.
doing?
Doing great. I just put out a really good video. I think it's going to be very valuable. So I'm kind of pumped after that.
Sure. We a video on one exactly. Money. I see you
So
spending a lot of time on videos and educating material.
yeah, I've been spending a lot of time making videos, trying to make it a little easier because I know a lot of people don't want to read essays. They don't want to read books. So the video that I made, it's called "The U.S. Dollar is Fake Money." I just went through and explained it. The U.S. dollar is one of the reasons why we have so many problems today, and I think it's going to keep getting worse. And I know you're a huge Bitcoin bull, of course. So at the end of it, I explained how Bitcoin can really fix everything.
Well, I think maybe it could be a good start, a very good start for our interview. Actually, the first thing is we cannot understand Bitcoin if we don't understand the problem that is trying to solve. The problem with the US dollars. If you can start summarizing the video, will be great. Then we will
Yeah, exactly.
go from there.
Oh, absolutely. Let me actually share it on the call here. I think it'll be. I think people
Sure.
will find it valuable whenever they want to watch it. They can. Okay, I think
I
it's
think
there.
okay, you already commented. Otherwise, while you are summarizing, I can take the video and comment here.
Yeah, awesome. So what I wanted to talk about was how the U.S. dollar doesn't fulfill the functions of money, and how a lot of people are using stocks and real estate instead of U.S. dollars to store value for the future. And both stocks and real estate are used to extract wealth from anybody who doesn't own stocks and real estate. So uh, what the U.S. government does is it's constantly printing money. It's constantly flooding the market with money. As well, not the U.S. government, the Federal Reserve. The U.S. government borrows as much money as it wants from the Federal Reserve, from the public markets. If it can't get it from the public markets, it takes it from the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve just prints more and adds it to the U.S. government's spending accounts. Essentially, it buys all of the U.S. government's debt from the public markets, and the U.S. government can continue to spend as much as it wants to. I think one of the keys here that people really need to take away is that as the supply of U.S. dollars increases, the value of each individual unit of U.S. dollars decreases. It's almost like a stock split, where if we had a stock split and you didn't get all of the shares that you were supposed to get. So let's say uh, Amazon has a stock split. 2 years ago, Amazon had a stock split which was 1 for 20, meaning that for every one share you had, you would get a share that's a 20th of the value and owns a 20th of the percent, like the value of the company. So essentially, before, if the share was $100, you now have 20 shares that are worth $5 each, right? Um, so essentially, what the government is doing is it's doing a stock split, but it's giving you, instead of all 20 shares, it's giving you 19 shares. It's essentially using that one share, it's taking that money and it's spending it on its own. And it's just over time increasing the amount that it's spending. It's decreasing what everybody else's purchasing power is. I explained it a little bit more in depth in the video, but that was essentially it. And because of what's happening, the rich have continued to get richer. There's more trillionaires than ever. Uh, trillionaires, sorry, billionaires, more billionaires than ever, and they control so much wealth. And the only reason why that is because they've figured out that the U.S. dollar is fake money. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in this position.
Thanks for summarizing. Yes, very very interesting. Definitely, I will watch it. And also, Sailor said we have a word for people who save in cash. We call them poor. It was an exaggeration, the meaning that they're not poor at the moment, but they will become poorer and poorer. Also on inflation, one of the problem that is called inflation. The word inflation was coming at the beginning, was inflating the money supply. It should be called a tax on the lower class, because it's the one who are hit the most. Then no one maybe will say we need to tax the lower class to stimulate the economy, because now many they are saying we need inflation to stimulate the economy. That from Austrian School of Economics is really nonsense. Maybe let's also discuss. Let's discuss also about what is. I think people. It's very good explanation what you say. You said, but I think some people are not grasping, because they are not really in the deep understanding what is money. That is like a representation. Is like a ledger of who owns what, and it's not money value per se, but because they represent the value in the society. And if we double it, then the value of each unit will decrease. I think it's still at this point is still not completely grasped from the population.
Right. So how I think of money is each unit of currency or each unit of an asset. Let's say you have an ounce of gold. Each one represents a certain amount of work, right? So each one represents that you did this much work or you added this much value, and now you're owed this much in services or goods by somebody else in the economy, right? So you can give that unit of currency, unit of money, commodity, whatever it is, you can give it away and you can get back something of value. Because let's say, for example, we were using gold. Each ounce of gold costs a certain amount of money to create, right? So over time, because of how slowly gold is produced, because of the stock to flow and all that stuff, because of how slowly it's added to the economy, the value of each unit of work that you put in to get out an ounce of gold increases over time, right? So let's say you mine gold, you get back, let's say, 1 ounce of gold. That value of that ounce of gold is going to be retained, or it's going to increase over time. More recently, fewer and fewer people use gold as a store of value. I know over the last, let's say, 30 years, 40 years, however long, gold barely kept up with inflation, but that's because there's so much competition, right? The US government essentially created a fake market. Governments around the world created a fake market where we buy, instead of gold, we buy these companies, and these companies are funded through fake money. So essentially, the entire system is essentially just it's fake, right? And because of that, gold isn't getting the attention that it should. And of course, gold has its own problems where you can't self-custody really. Let's say you have $1 billion worth of gold. You can't really keep it in your house, right? If somebody walks in, your gold is gone, right? So we relied on custodians, we relied on banks, and those banks took advantage. They basically confiscated it and they forced us to use this fake money over time. They got us to use this money. They stopped us from being able to use actual money, and they made us use fake money, right? So what that did was it gave us the rise of using, like I mentioned before, real estate as a store of value. I think most people don't realize that they use real estate as a store of value. They call it something different. Some people have said, oh, I use it as generational wealth. I use it as, I need the cash flow from it. But they don't realize that the only reason why real estate values have gone up so much is because so much real estate is held by investors who just continue to increase prices. Mortgages extract so much wealth from the value of real estate. So let's say if you were to buy a house for $625,000, over the next 30 years, you're going to have paid the bank something like $625,000 in interest, right? And your house may have gone up to $2 million, but if you calculate how much your house value has gone up, it's only about 2 or 3%. But what the leverage does is it makes you feel like you made so much more money than you actually did. It's the entire system. It's all designed to make everybody as broke as possible to extract wealth. I think that's what Bitcoin solves, right? So Bitcoin is, people call it digital gold, but it's so much more, right? Bitcoin has all the characteristics that gold has, except it's not physical. So of course it doesn't have any actual people say it doesn't have utility, but that's exactly how it's supposed to be, right? Because gold has utility, it's a physical good, so it has utility, meaning it can be used for other things. So what we're doing by using gold as money is we're stopping the progression of innovation. So how much better would our technology be if gold wasn't used as money? So all these things, I guess all these things just factor in. And this is also one of the reasons why it's so difficult to really understand how Bitcoin works. You have to put together so many different ideas. You have to connect so many ideas, and you have to put in the time to do that. If you don't put in the time, you're not going to be able to connect these ideas. So what Bitcoin does by having no physical form is people are going to say it has no utility. It doesn't have any physical utility. Like you can't use it in the production of electronics, but that's why that's why it works so well. The only value it has is related to monetary, uh, to let's say as a store of value, or it only has a monetary premium. 100% of its value is a monetary premium. So what we can do is we can reliably use it to transfer value across space, transfer value from person to person. We can use it to store value for as long as possible. We can, because it's not physical. Let's say we used gold. Gold is of course physical. It has all those characteristics, but it doesn't work because, like I said, it's physical. So you can't move it from place to place. It requires custodians. It requires people in the middle, right? So it's very easy to take over. It's very easy to manipulate. Bitcoin doesn't work that way, right? Bitcoin doesn't require all these custodians. You can keep $1 billion worth of gold, and you can have $1 billion worth of gold, and if you use something like multi-sig, you can keep your keys in different parts of the world, and nobody can take your Bitcoin from you, right? So because it's digital, Bitcoin improves on all the characteristics of gold. It gets rid of the need for real estate as a store of value. I think a lot of companies are going to be repriced in Bitcoin, right? So we see how MicroStrategy has 1% of the entire supply of Bitcoin. So technically, MicroStrategy's minimum value should be 1% of the Bitcoin network, right? If it's below that, you know it's being undervalued. If it's above that, you know it's being maybe there's some kind of premium for the business that they have. So over time, I think we're going to see everything just completely change because as Bitcoin is used as a store of value, as more people use it, more people will be able to use it as a medium of exchange and as a unit of account. So over time, as more people understand this, as more people say that I'm going to move my energy from the old system to the new system, I don't think ETFs count. I think ETFs, you're just getting the fiat exposure. So you're getting the fiat exposure, but you're not actually holding Bitcoin for all of the benefits that it offers, right? All of the features that it offers. But I think that's fine if that's what you want to do it. But over time, we're going to see as more people hold Bitcoin in cold storage, more merchants are going to want to accept it, and as more merchants want it, we're going to see more people hold it. So it'll evolve into this massive category for money. I think it'll take over literally everything. And I think I went on a complete tangent there, but I think that's where this is going. That's how I think of it. Just going forward, I think that'll make a massive difference in how we see money.
Yeah, it's interesting because sometimes I hear like people like Giacomo are going to interview Zucco, interview him the following weeks. You say that Bitcoin is the virtualization, the virtualization of the currency because we have the ledger as numbers in a ledger in the banks. So currency is already virtual, the fiat currency. But Bitcoin, given the scarcity and non-replicability, it gives him the feature of the digital gold, so something scarce and less virtual than what we think. It's a good paradigm shift to think about. Of course, people have other investments. They want one is real estate, and then there are many factors that has a lot to do with the human psychology, how they manage their time preference. If I had to think about some good feature of the real estate investment, is that gives them maybe that's easy. Give it a long-term perspective. People they just set and forget it, but they overlook the municipality taxes. The refurbishment which is needed, otherwise nobody wants anymore, and the fact that it's not easy to sell, can be confiscated, cannot be traded instantly. Of course, it is an inferior asset, but Bitcoin is new, it's a paradigm shift, and difficult to grasp at this stage, but the price we will have for sure. To this regard, I would ask, given your background as a financial accountant, and I think you worked a lot with the entities, companies. You think that okay, so for individuals, Bitcoin is a bit difficult to purchase because it's either they study it or the price speaks, convince them. So they have the common the society tells them that is highly valued, therefore they can buy it. So, but until that stage, it's a bit difficult if they don't study, right? But maybe is that the same, given your background, for the companies, or maybe for a board, if some people will follow the route of MicroStrategy and the other Japanese company regarding treasury managers, will be maybe easier for them because it's like a colder approach to the management of a company, given that it's not their personal money. How do you see this possibility? I mean, can they be less scared to purchase a Bitcoin as an entity because it's just asset allocation of a company, not their personal belongings?
Yeah, I think you have to really convince the people around you, right? I think that's one of the main things. It's going to take some time for companies to really figure it out because the ETF was a spark. A lot of people saw the ETF and they started looking at Bitcoin a little bit more. But the thing is that they have to convince people who have no clue what's happening, right? So the people who saw the ETFs, most of them probably understand that, oh, I need to buy stocks. I need to buy this. So they just thought, maybe I'll get some exposure. Maybe I'll learn how this thing works. And then their money doubled. No, sorry, not doubled, but their money went up 75% or so, 75%. And now they see this, now they're studying it more, and now they're trying to convince their family and friends. But that's how it's going to work for companies too, right? So at companies, there's going to be individuals who come up with the idea of, let's say, buying Bitcoin. Then over time, they're going to spread it to the people around them. And then those people need to get convinced. I think what Saylor did was what Michael Saylor did was in his company, he shared some videos with his top executives. He said, watch these videos and let's have a meeting. So they had a meeting, and then he explained his thoughts. He gave them his thoughts, and I'm not sure how easily people were orange pilled by that. But even if right now even if some people read this information, even if some people learn about this, they're going to continue to question it, right? So I think over the next, like right now, we're seeing how quickly it's being adopted. I think over the next 10, 15 years, it's going to accelerate, right? Just the way that it's being adopted right now. Of course, it's as quickly as we want it to be, but I think over the long term, it's going to get even faster, right? That's what I mean. I think more companies are going to figure it out. More businesses are going to be put into a position where they can't earn a profit unless they own Bitcoin. They can't earn any kind of value unless they own Bitcoin, because fiat's value is just going to keep decreasing, right? Stocks are going to keep underperforming. Bitcoin is just going to outperform everything. It's going to outperform the S&P 500, and any company that owns it, of course, is their shares are going to outperform. And right now, I guess it's more hype as well. So people are basically buying companies because they see that they want to own Bitcoin, or they bought some Bitcoin. They're buying them for these reasons. But in the future, I think it's going to be because there's going to be no other way to make money, right? There's going to be no other way to earn a profit, because we all know Bitcoin is it leads to deflation, and nobody can stop that. Nobody can slow that down. I think it's going to lead to the deflation of prices for stocks and real estate as well, right? And we're going to see that like back to what you were saying, more companies are going to have to hold it. Otherwise, they'll be continuously losing wealth, right? They'll be losing wealth for their shareholders. They'll be losing wealth for their executives. Their executives aren't going to get their bonuses. They're going to be put in a position where they're forced to do it. I think we're seeing Vanguard going through that right now, and we're going to see more organizations go through that in the future.
I agree.
Rajat, you pointed out so many things. I think I will have several different questions on valid point that you had. First one, I think also on gold. Maybe we can come back there. And also, you said many people they think that Bitcoin is not money because it's not utility. This is also because it's hard to understand not only a new technology but it's a new approach. In fact, it's the first time in history that we have something engineered to be money. Also, is one of the problem why many Austrian economists coming from Austrian School of Economics didn't understand Bitcoin at the beginning, because also Rothschild were saying that every form of money that we had in the past was having a utility before. But the problem is that these people didn't understand is it's not prescriptive. It's not that something has to have utility before becoming money. It was descriptive, descripting what was in the past. And before internet, we would not have had the technology to create digital scarcity. Digital scarcity in the physical world is not possible. But with internet and with all the other technology that Satoshi Nakamoto put together, it was able to create digital scarcity. So I think it's also connected to be a new technology, something new that never happened, and people have problems. Many people have problems in understanding this. It was the same with electricity, with the automobile, and with internet. Do you think as well this relation that really it's hard to understand a new technology for many?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to take a long time, right? Most people aren't going to get it for a while. But the way that I think of it, having utility is actually a bad thing, right? Because only physical things can have utility. How does something digital have utility? Utility just means you can use it in and of itself. You can use it for a certain purpose. You can't use bytes to, let's say, you can use a car for transportation. You can't use digital bytes for transportation. Digital bytes are not supposed to have utility. It's information, right? And money is information. Money is supposed to be something that you can use to assign value to someone. Like I said before, it's basically a way to show how much of the economy's value you own, how much of the economy's prosperity goes towards you, right? And if something physical can't work as money in the digital age. You can't pay for, let's say, if you wanted to use gold as money and you wanted to pay for something on Amazon, there's no way for you to do that without people in the middle. You can't pay for something on Amazon. You can't pay for something to be delivered to you if there are people in the middle, right? I'm sorry, unless there's people in the middle. If you have a gold standard, for example, you're going to have to go to Amazon's headquarters to give them however much gold you have to pay for the transaction. That doesn't really make any sense. So in a digital world, we need to find a way to produce digital scarcity, and that's what was done. That's what was achieved with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the discovery of digital scarcity. You can't discover something twice. You can't discover fire twice. You can't discover whatever different things we've discovered. We discovered, let's say, smaller and smaller particles. You can't discover that twice, right? You can't create the same discovery twice and then try to improve on it. I think there's two camps here. Some people think that Bitcoin doesn't work at all because it doesn't have all the features that we need. And then there's other people who think that Bitcoin doesn't work at all because it's nothing. It's thin air. I think both of those people are very confused about what Bitcoin is. And over time, they're going to see that as they participate in the digital economy, more and more people who do participate in it, of course, those people are going to be ones that use the internet. the people who grow up with the internet, right? It's very morbid to say, but the people who don't truly understand Bitcoin are the ones who don't understand the internet, and they're probably going to die soon. So would you want to take their advice? Like, would you take Warren Buffett's advice on what can be used as value on the internet when he probably doesn't truly understand what the internet is in the first place? I think that's a question that most people need to ask themselves. I always get these comments, "Oh, Warren Buffett thinks it's a waste of money. It's rat poison." Warren Buffett does not understand technology. He's going to be late. A lot of people aren't seeing it from that perspective. By the time Warren Buffett gets to Bitcoin, by the time he starts buying Bitcoin, I think he'll be maybe he's already doing it in the back end. But I mean, if he's as arrogant as he seems like he is from his comments, then he's not going to be buying Bitcoin until it hits $1 million, $10 million, right? And by then, if you don't have as much wealth as he does, you won't be able to afford nearly as much as you can right now, right? It's going to be 100 times more. The price is going to be 100 times what it is today. So you'll be able to get 1% of the amount of Bitcoin in the future that you're able to get today, right? So if you can get 1 Bitcoin today, in the future, you're going to be able to get 0.01 Bitcoin for the same for the same amount of wealth. And you're never going to be able to change that. You're never going to be able to go back in time. So making the decision to really understand this, like you said, from the perspective of Austrian economics theorists, a lot of them put in the time. They get it. I know a lot of people in the audience here. They understand it because they put in the time to get there. We're going to be told that we got lucky. We're going to be told that it was a fluke. We're going to be told that it's a scam. We're going to be told it's a Ponzi scheme. But those people are going to be exit liquidity for the people who bought at, let's say, $5, $10, $15, $15,000, $20,000, because those people are going to need to pay for their expenses, right? These people who are saying it's a scam now are going to be exit liquidity for the people who bought at these low prices. At $10 million, you're going to be paying 0.0001 Bitcoin for, let's say, a week of groceries. The people who are saying it's a scam now are going to be working at that grocery store, giving you those groceries, bagging those groceries up for you. That's where I think the world is going. The people who are owning it now, pretty much everybody who's listening to this, people who are putting in the work to understand where this is going, I think you're going to have.
No problem. You were saying exactly was at the moment I think that we are seeing and then blocked what we will be seeing in the future.
Oh, I don't know how far I went after that.
You were saying about the grocery, 1 week of grocery, and they will beg for this, and then people will call us lucky.
Yeah. So the people, I mean, those groceries are going to have to be put on the shelves, right? There's going to have to be, unless there's robots, those people who are saying it's a scam now are going to be probably either living on UBI. They're going to have some kind of digital commodity, digital goods business. Maybe they're going to be able to mine, but they're going to have to put in a lot more work to get the same amount of Bitcoin. And they're going to say that, we should redistribute the wealth. But the way that Bitcoin works is it automatically redistributes wealth, right? So of course, people are going to be at an advantage. The Bitcoiners are going to be at an advantage, but they're going to have to give away some of their wealth to get back whatever services all these people are offering, right? So if you wanted to buy, let's say, meat, if somebody's saying Bitcoin is a scam today, and let's say it's a rancher, let's say this rancher has the best quality beef, and 10 years from now, he suddenly says, wow, I figured out what Bitcoin is. Now I'm going to start getting Bitcoin in exchange for my beef. You're going to be paying him for it, but you're going to be paying much, much, much less. At the same time, you're going to be giving him something of value, and I don't think you can ever be late to Bitcoin, right? You can never be too late. If this person is getting Bitcoin when it's $10 million a coin, it's because he expects Bitcoin to eventually hit 20 million, 30 million, $40 million a coin, right? Because the US dollar's value is always going to keep decreasing. When you understand how Bitcoin works, you understand that the price can never stop increasing in terms of US dollars because US dollars can be printed at will, Bitcoin has a finite supply. Once these people figure it out, of course, they're going to be giving us their goods and services, right? And we're going to be paying for that. We're going to be paying for those goods and services at a much, much cheaper price. That's why Bitcoin is deflationary, right? Over time, we're going to see that. We're going to see the impact of that. And I think anybody who owns Bitcoin is going to benefit massively.
Totally. And giving like also not a timeline or maybe a price where do we think when do we think that there will be this move from gradually till suddenly? Because what I saw in the last year, so end of 2022, big crash, beginning of 2023, no one of my contacts was wanted to discuss about Bitcoin. I was discussing only thanks to X, discussing with Bitcoiners, we could have discussed about Bitcoin. Then Bitcoin price went up, started the approval for the ETF, more people were interested. Now more and more are interested, but still maybe this 0.5%, 1%, or maybe they are just looking on the side, monitoring. Before they weren't monitoring, not monitoring, and then now they are monitoring Bitcoin. Do you think there will be a level of price where do you think after this, it will start the suddenly moment and maybe will trigger the supply shock and then having like a flywheel and the price will keep skyrocketing from there?
I think once we hit $100,000, more people are going to be paying attention. But then even at $100,000, there's going to be a lot of people who are ignoring it, right? There's going to be people at $500,000 who are ignoring it. There's probably going to be people up to 10, 15, $20 million who will continue to ignore it. And the way that Bitcoin works is it's a Veblen good, right? Over time, as the price increases, the perceived value also increases. So just going based on what you're saying, I think the price, as it increases in price, I think the appreciation will accelerate, right? Because more and more people are going to be, so as it increases in price, wealthier and wealthier people get exposure. The people who are ignoring it today, a lot of them are, of course, they don't have enough money, but then a lot of them are just ignoring it because it's not big enough for them. It's a $1.4 trillion asset class. Real estate in comparison is worth 400 trillion, global real estate. Global stocks are worth something like 100 trillion. Global bonds are worth something like 400 trillion as well, right? And those asset classes, I think all of those asset classes are going to have a lot of wealth moved from them over to Bitcoin because of how Bitcoin's characteristics work. And just based on what you're saying, when will the price increase? I think it's going to increase and it's going to accelerate. I think we're with the S curve. I think we haven't even started the straight line up yet. I think we're not even close to it yet, right? It'll take probably, once Bitcoin is at 1 million, for example, how many people are going to want to sell it? I don't think many people are going to want to sell it. I think at least fewer people are going to want to sell it at 1 million than they are today. I think that's what's going to happen, right? Over time, we're going to see more and more people just wanting to hold. More Bitcoin is put into the hands of people who are never going to sell every single day, right? So we're going to keep seeing the price go up. It's going to go up forever. Once you see how this thing works, it's very hard not to see that this thing's price is going to go up forever. So I don't know when exactly the upward trajectory will start, but once I think it's already started for this cycle. I think it'll go up significantly. I don't know how high it'll go. People are saying $200,000, $300,000, $500,000. Who knows? But I think it's just as likely for it to stay at $60,000, $70,000 as it is for it to go to $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 because of how the market works. Now that this is an institutional asset, the markets are probably going to be manipulated significantly, right? A lot of these institutions are as many institutions are buying it, there's probably the same amount that are shorting it, right? A lot of people think that they're smarter than the market, so people are shorting it. But those people are going to add fuel to the fire. Once they get liquidated, they're going to have to close their position. They're going to have to go long, right? They're going to have to buy even more Bitcoin to cover their short position, unless they go bankrupt, of course. And again, it's just all fuel added to the fire. And once more and more companies figure it out, I know Giovanni has that power law where he says $210,000, but the trust in the US dollar is disappearing. Right at a certain point, there's no way for it to. So the way that I think of it, part of the reason why the Federal Reserve hasn't lowered rates yet is because of Bitcoin, right? And they're going to have to keep increasing rates because of Bitcoin, and either they're going to make the US government go bankrupt, default on its debts, they're going to have to print like crazy, or every asset class collapses. Everything just collapses. Everything just breaks, right? Either way, they're just put in a position where Bitcoin goes up no matter what. And once that happens, it's already started. Like I said, it's already started. It's going to keep going however long it takes. I don't think we're going to see the same drawdowns that we saw before. I don't think we're going to see Bitcoin's price drop 70, 80% unless some legacy financial institution goes bankrupt. Maybe let's say BlackRock goes bankrupt or Coinbase goes bankrupt. But those Bitcoins are going to be picked up pretty quickly, I think.
Yeah, so like the Lindy effect supporting the price is in an exponential way. I mean, the more the higher it goes, the more confidence it gets instilled into the buyers, and the less likely they are going to sell. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, very very good point, Rajat. In my opinion, I think 100. So for sure, 100 is psychological, 100K, but also 160, 170. It will be the level where Bitcoin becomes the second asset, the most valuable asset after gold. It will pass Nvidia, Saudi Aramco, Google, Amazon, Apple, and I foresee at that level to be again a journalist or someone arguing against Bitcoin. I think it will be hard job, and it will be also hard not to explain, not to have to explain why not putting at least 1 or 2% in Bitcoin. Before, like till the ETF, it was hard to explain why 1% in Bitcoin, but at one point it will be also hard to say why 0% in Bitcoin. And as you said, the asset is not that big; it's 1.4 trillion. So if the world agrees on 1% in Bitcoin, it will be already a lot for Bitcoin. Then maybe they will move to 3, 5, and more percentage. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Over time, so the people who are buying 1% now, I was doing the calculations. In 20 years, their portfolio is going to have at least 60% Bitcoin. If they're buying 1% now, they're going to have at least 60% Bitcoin. And that's with 35% returns over the next 10 years and 30% over the following 10. So uh, Bitcoin will be 60% of the portfolio. At that point, do you think people are going to be rebalancing down? How stupid would that be? Because you're going to see the stock market just completely underperform. You're going to see the housing market completely underperform. By then, most people are going to see that Bitcoin has so many more benefits over every other asset class that there's no point of holding anything else. Like once you understand Bitcoin, it's not hard to get to that conclusion.
Very good, very good point. And let's build from your sentence. Once you understand Bitcoin, you also said, and I also appreciate your post also because you are stressing a lot on studying Bitcoin, and that Bitcoin you need a lot of time to understand it. So I think there's also a very important point from our listeners, for someone who is interested in Bitcoin, to it's never enough that we explaining that it takes a lot of time to understand Bitcoin. Like you need to prioritize your time in a different way, giving time to study Bitcoin. It's not that you read an article or you listen to one podcast or one video or 2 or 3 or 5, and then you get it. I think it will be worth to spend sometimes highlighting that it is needed a lot of time to understand Bitcoin.
Yeah, it could take. I think it could take a full-time person's job, like all that time to just understand Bitcoin, right? Maybe 6 months, 8 hours a day for some people. It took me a really long time because what I was doing was I was listening to Bitcoin podcasts while so I used to be a realtor. I did that for about a year, and every time I'd go for showings, whenever I'd go, I'd be listening to Bitcoin podcasts, and I feel like those Bitcoin podcasts kind of got me to stop doing real estate. Real estate was great money. I made more money from doing real estate than I did at my job at a bank, right? But the thing is that I didn't believe in real estate anymore because of how Bitcoin worked. You can make so much money doing things that are shady, that are scamming other people. I could convince so many people that, oh, you should buy more real estate, you should buy more houses, you should buy more rental properties. I could have made uh maybe $300,000-$400,000 doing that. I have the network to do that, but why would I do that? Why would I screw over the people that I consider my family, I consider them my friends? Why would I screw them over just to make a little bit of money? At the end of the day, the money that we're getting today is fake anyways, right? The money that we're earning is fake. So the people who are in those industries, of course, they're making money from doing it, but I think the problem is that they're kind of scamming their friends and family. If they don't understand how Bitcoin works, they're not scamming them intentionally, but it's going to come back at them, right? So to me, it took me so long to understand how Bitcoin works because of the industry that I was in. Maybe for other people, it's a little easier. Um, but because I've put in the time, I know for a fact that I understand what I've put in the time to learn. I I can look at it from perspectives that may not be mine because I've spoken to people. There's actually a guy in the audience right now. He's from Nigeria. And whenever people tell me that Bitcoin has no utility, I just think about so his name is Stan or Rajas there. He's I think about the conversations that I've had with him, and it makes me think these people are so privileged, right? They're so lucky to have a system where they can buy stocks, where they can buy real estate, where they can rent this out, and they can make sure that they know for sure that their government is going to protect their property rights. Not everybody in the world has that. Once you see it from that perspective, once you really put in the time to understand Bitcoin, it takes time to get to that, right? You're not going to get that overnight. It compounds over time. You learn the basics. The basics may take you, let's say, a month to learn. Then you may learn something much more advanced in the next month, then much more advanced in the next month, and it compounds over time. I think Bitcoiners understand this, right? Um, most of the content, that's being put out there by myself, for example, I know it's Bitcoiners, right? Because most people who don't understand Bitcoin, they're not going to waste time on a Bitcoin podcast. These people are just constantly learning. I'm constantly learning. I understand Bitcoin even now after how many years. I'm still learning, right? There's still topics that I have no clue how they work. I don't have the answer. I can't give an answer, and I'm still learning, right? But that's the thing. I've been learning for 3 years. I feel like I've put in more time to learn about Bitcoin than I did for my CFA designation. So I think more and more people are seeing that. More and more people are getting it. Once you see Bitcoin, it'll probably take you at least a year, 2 years to actually go all in, to really understand what it is, to risk your wealth, to risk your reputation, to tell other people how it works, right? To teach them how it works. And we're gonna see that happening over time. We're gonna see more and more people doing that. It's gonna become easier and easier to learn. Maybe it'll go from taking a year to 6 months to maybe 2 months to maybe a month, and people are just all in.
I'm not
right?
hearing
Over
anymore.
time,
Yes.
as educators get better, as the
Rajat, we
content
are not
gets
hearing
better,
you anymore.
we're gonna see that happening, and there's no way to stop it. I don't even see government stopping it at any point. They can't, right? But like I said, it takes time. Put in the time, and I think that's the only way to make sure that you actually hold when the price is volatile.
Yeah, the root cause can be located in the fact that the system, the money printer traumatized everyone in the whole industry. And that's why you have also shady business, rent seekers, people who advertise real estate as safe haven, all of these sorts of tactics in traditional finance. Is because the value has been already stolen from them, so nobody is safe under this system. So oppositely, Bitcoin, as we were highlighting gives back the true values to the people, like the true value of time and work. Bitcoin works on a time chain, but it also gives back time to the work, and the people can benefit from it by optimizing the resources. And so it's a really a physical concept. Bitcoin has a lot to do with energy, time, and physics driven concept, which benefit the individual. Unfortunately, in the current world we are living in, the money printer and the system based on base layer scam, which is the fiat currency, cannot drives the society in an opposite direction. In a Bitcoin economy, there won't be many rent seekers. There won't be many people who try to scam the others, but people who understood the value in contrast, and they like to promote value and to make it viral together with the good aspects of the life and the other people around them. Is not just a monetary concept, it's also ethical currency, ethical concept, and things. There will be swings, up and downs, but ultimately the Bitcoin will contribute a lot to a better society, and that makes also, for this reason, the best investment ever.
I think what Bitcoiners, so in my opinion, the way that I perceive it is, Bitcoiners think about the long term, and they understand the value of networks. They understand the value of having a good reputation. So on a Bitcoin standard, I don't think we're going to see the same kind of scams that we see today. We're not going to see Ponzi schemes. All that stuff is not going to work. We're not going to see shitty quality products. We're not going to see companies being sued for putting microplastics in the best foods that we're expected to eat. Our food isn't going to be processed. Over time, the quality of everything is going to increase, right? And it's because Bitcoiners care about their reputation. So, for example, I've been posting about Bitcoin on Instagram for 6 months. In the last 6 months, my Instagram following I've lost 15,000 followers. 15,000 followers is 15% of my following, right? Of course, I've gotten followers back to make up for it. But the thing is that 15,000 people have unfollowed me over the last 6 months because I've posted about Bitcoin. I still get hate on it, but I understand it, right? I've figured out what it is. That's why I share it. And I think a lot of Bitcoiners, they're very confident in what they preach because they understand what they talk about. And I can tell you from my experience, I can tell you from a lot of the people that are in this conversation, a lot of the people that I'm following are at the very top there. I know a lot of those people really understand Bitcoin, and they wouldn't be telling other people to buy Bitcoin unless they got it, right? I know D is one of those people. I know Sunny is one of those people. Rosalind, you're one of those people. Swaranjit, you're one of those people. All these people at the top, they understand what it is, so they're sharing their knowledge with other people. And because they understand Bitcoin, because they've done the research, I think I kind of trust them more in other aspects of life too, right? For example, if so there's one guy in the call, his name is Swaranjit Singh. He's a I think he's a doctor. He talks about seed oils. Before I started seeing his posts, I know people say that, oh, it's just a social media hype. It's garbage. It's bullshit. It's not true. But the thing is that because of his content, I started doing a little bit more research myself. And then I read the book by Matthew Lishik, Fiat Food. It was published by Saifuddin Amus's publishing house. So I looked into that book because of his content, right? And because I understand that this guy's a Bitcoiner. He does his research. He actually puts in the time. And with him, for example, if I needed to go into business, if I needed to buy some kind of product that helped me for that, and he says, hey, this helps. This is something that I think people should buy. I would actually buy it from him. And that's the power of your reputation. That's the power of you not screwing people over. But on the fiat currency system, it doesn't work that way, right? Because whoever has the most wealth, they're just going to keep having more and more wealth no matter what they do. It's basically a lottery, right? So let's say Jamie Dimon, he has how much US dollars? He keeps telling people that, oh no, Bitcoin is not, Bitcoin's a scam. He runs a bank. He knows his bank is going to get bailed out by the US government. He doesn't care about his reputation. He's okay with screwing people over, right? But the thing is, on Bitcoin, you can't do that. Nobody is too big to fail. Let's say you build something and you screw your customers over, that information is going to spread around the world and your company is going to be taken down no matter how much the government supports you. So again, that's my point. I know that Bitcoiners, they put in the time, they understand what they're doing, they build that reputation, and because I know what they're doing, I would actually be willing to work with them, right? I think we're gonna see that more and more throughout the next 10, 15, 20 years. A lot of Bitcoiners are gonna have built such massive networks. They're gonna be the wealthiest people in the world, not because they hold Bitcoin, but because of how much value they add. They're gonna add so much more value to the world. I already see that happening. Some Bitcoiners have the best content out there. So yeah, over time it's just gonna build.
Yep, great points. Again, I agree, as I said before, for the time that people has to put times. I also think that maybe in 2024 it will be needed less time than what you needed or what I needed, because firstly, the many misconceptions now less discussed, like use it for criminals. Now it's much less used, and also intrinsic value. Once the price reach maybe the market cap is above 2 trillion, it will be also hard. So there will be less misconception, and as you said, there will be also more much better content. Before 2020, before the Bitcoin standard, also it was not easy to find such a good quality content to understand comprehensively Bitcoin. Now there is a ton of material. Also, you're doing a lot of YouTube videos. Me and Francesco, we are doing this podcast. So it's on the people now to spend to spend the time. I'm also saying it's if you want to understand Bitcoin, it's like a choice. Like for people who want to run a marathon, let's say in less than 3 hours, 15 minutes. It's a big goal, and you need to reprioritize your life, especially people have a full-time job. So if they want to understand Bitcoin, they cannot just read one article every 2 weeks and listen to 15 minutes and then they understand Bitcoin. No, they have to take the conscious decision to give a certain amount of time per week on Bitcoin. And the more they give, the earlier they will understand it. We can also, yeah,
I was
Rajat,
just taking a shot because you mentioned the Story of Bitcoin podcast. So what's a better occasion to remind all our listeners to follow the host, co-host, and the Story of Bitcoin profile to get notified. That's it. That's a commercial, but it was
great.
Yeah.
We have also our website. We finalize these days with all the contents, but it's also in the pinned post. Okay, let's finish the merchandising post time. Rajat, you were replying, I think.
Yeah, I was just gonna agree with you. I was just gonna say, yeah, I 100% agree.
One good point, one interesting point I would like to discuss as well with you is due to your background that you worked 10 years in finance, so no one better than you can also describe how people perceive Bitcoin in the last 5 years, let's say. And I think people who comes from finance economics and understand Bitcoin, they should deserve an extra medal because being so deep in a Keynes economic, it requires more humility maybe or more questioning than people who are coming from different area to understand that the current system is not working.
Yeah, I think more people are gonna figure it out. They have to. The current system isn't working, like you said, and more people are seeing the impact of it. But the thing is that most professionals still don't get it. Most professionals don't want to. They're not putting in the time, right? I'm so in my situation, I'm actually in a kind of difficult situation now, where because I post so much about Bitcoin, I'm potentially at the risk of losing my CFA designation, right? So for me, it's choosing between uh, talking about Bitcoin or getting rid of the CFA, right? And I mean, if it comes to it, I personally choose to get rid of the CFA, right? Because I think Bitcoin is the absolute truth. And most people at the CFA institution haven't spent the time that I've spent learning about Bitcoin. So over time, we're going to see more and more people understand it. But at this point, I mean, I'm getting a lot of pushback from the CFA Institute. So that's gonna maybe who knows what that'll lead to.
Interesting also that at this level, I received a message that I saw one of your posts saying that one of other people who having CFA like flagged you to the institution saying maybe we should remove the certification to you. But
Yes, that's what I'm going.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, please go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, yeah, that's what I'm going through right now. That's actually what's happening right now.
I think in some years when it will be understood by anyone, I think at one point anyone will have to bend the knee to Bitcoin and to Bitcoiners, meaning recognizing they were right, the Bitcoiners were right, and those they have been wrong all the time. History will prove it. History proved that people were against the automobile, internet, the telephone, electricity. They were all wrong, and they were the majority of people. So at one point they will have to admit. And I think in this with Bitcoin it will be much faster because we live in the digital age. So for the car to replace the horse, it took many years. But for Bitcoin to replace many other store of value, it will once we reach an inflection point, it will take less.
Yes, but all those you mentioned, like electricity, cars, are utilities. Here we're talking about the ultimate form of power for government individuals, which is money. So it's even more compelling, also different. But maybe I invite everybody in the audience to even keep an adversarial thinking, because when these people, I think there is a big divide also, or currently from the banks. They sometimes they filed to some asking for to manage Bitcoin, but not really convinced. Of course, they play against it. So it's really important not to trust, and not to trust again, and be independent in this asset, because you never know how it ends up. This is the ultimate source of power, which is money, and the key wave of the government to impose policy. So many things can happen. Just Bitcoin is gonna win, but we have to help. We have to help ourselves by being safe in this journey.
Yep, I agree. Rajat, also one or two suggestions that you can give to people to navigate this time of Bitcoin goes up, Bitcoin going down. I think for you, me and Francesco, it's relatively easy. We just hold. History also proved that holding is much better is outperforming any trading, and because many people were thinking that holding is not enough or they need to do something. what would you recommend to people?
Do you still see some demand from from trading strategies from your? How do they sell the finance guys to the people? The fact that it's better to have an actively managed fund as opposed to just holding. Are they just relying on ignorance of people, or do they bet on their trust, on the institutions they're representing? I don't know, because every time I try to model some trading bots or even some could have been successful, but you never know how it's gonna behave, that thing you have studied or built in the future. So if you just hold, you're gonna be 100% sure that you take the best decision. Maybe Rajat, you?
Yeah, no, I over time we're just gonna see more and more people understand that the best way to do it is to buy and hold. There's no I mean, it's just going, if you can hold for 10 years, then that's the best decision you can make. I don't think trading in and out is going to be very smart. Because if you get rid of it, you're paying taxes first of all on your capital gains. So let's say you go up 10 times. Probably 30% of your Bitcoin has gone to capital gains taxes, right? And then you have to buy back when Bitcoin's price drops 30%. Let's say 10 years from now, you sell, Bitcoin's price drops. You sell, you think it's a top, and then Bitcoin's price never drops the same amount. You're left with less Bitcoin. You put in the effort, but you got left with even less Bitcoin. I think the only thing that you can do is just try to accumulate as much actual Bitcoin as you can. Don't think about the dollar value. Don't think about the amounts. Just accumulate. Set up a recurring buy. Buy whenever you have extra cash. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much you have. Whatever you have, I think a lot of Bitcoiners right now have way too much. Right? They're going to redistribute. Right? Let's say there's people who have 1,000 Bitcoin. What's the point of them having so much wealth? Over time, they're going to redistribute. They're going to sell, right? They're going to just expand. They're going to spend money on whatever they want to. A lot of people are never going to have a lot less. Some people will gamble their Bitcoin away, right? Some people will get so bored. They'll have so much wealth. They'll want bigger and bigger numbers and they'll gamble their Bitcoin away, right? It's just we're going to see the Bitcoin that we have, we're going to see it all redistributed to a lot of people. I think everybody can hold some. I think that's why the market cap will just keep rising. It'll just keep increasing over time as the amount of Bitcoin that's being taken away from the long-term holders decreases. It's going to decrease just because the price is going to get so high. But as the amount is redistributed, we're going to see more and more people just getting a hold of it. More and more people setting up their dollar cost averages. Just set up a recurring buy and just forget about it. That's all you have to do. Doesn't matter how much you have. If you have 1 Bitcoin, 0.1 Bitcoin, 0.01 Bitcoin, eventually, in terms of dollars, that'll be worth a lot of money. So if you can, buy some, hold it, take care of it, don't think about it. Just accumulate over time. This is your long-term savings. This is your savings for 30 years from now, 40 years from now. This is your savings if you really want to look at the numbers. I think a lot of the people who are buying now will probably be able to retire within 20 years, 15 years. And it's up to you how much you allocate. The more you understand it, the more you realize that there's no second best. Like Michael Saylor says, his podcasts are great. Listen to those. But over time, you're going to figure out that there really is no second best. People are going to try to push you into random different coins. They're going to tell you, oh, price is going to go up. Ignore them. I started off buying shit coins, and I'm so happy I got rid of them. The way that I think about it is, if I really need, let's say, Ethereum 10 years from now, if I really need it, if there's an application on Ethereum that I need, I'll sell a little bit of my Bitcoin and I'll buy that Ethereum, right? I'm willing to take that risk. I don't think Ethereum is going to outperform Bitcoin over the next 10 years. I don't really care if it does, though. It doesn't matter to me. All I want is my store of value. I want my wealth to be protected. If somebody wants to put all of their wealth into Ethereum, do it. Whatever you want to do, I don't really care. The way that I think of it is, over time, accumulate as much Bitcoin as you can. Just keep accumulating more, even if it's $1 a day, if it's 50 cents a week. Whatever you can do, just accumulate it. Keep it safe, and you'll be happy.
Yeah, it's also astounding to see how can a simple strategy like this, but simple in a superficial term, but it's harder to do because the swings are wide. You need to have conviction and the knowledge. But if you, it's also nice to see how it overperforms, outsmarts the traditional strategies also in the stock markets. If you applying and buy all the strategy on the traditional stock market, you are relying on the index funds, SP500. You are relying on the fact that somebody has to print some liquidity to sustain the rise of the index, right? But in Bitcoin, you are relying on the fact that every 4 years, this commodity gets scarcer for the first time in the world. With a commodity, we get which one is better? I mean, because the liquidity might not happen, rise, increase, but of course, for 100% sure, you can be 100% sure that this commodity is going to get scarcer every 4 years. So it's a no-brainer, really, and. If it combines with liquidity, well, it's better. But if not, that the feature of Bitcoin are far way superior.
Yeah, there really is no second best. We're not going to see something else that's. I mean, I know there's other ones that other coins that people keep promoting, keep telling me about, keep telling me to look into. It doesn't matter if they. I think every other coin is a experiment. I think, let's say, every technology that actually matters. I think as much as people say that they hate ordinals, they hate runes, all that shit, whatever it is. As much as people say they don't like it, I think over time we're going to see that they have a benefit. They're going to have some kind of use case. I don't know what it'll be. I have no idea. I can't think that far ahead. But I think they'll have some kind of benefit. I think everything is going to move to Bitcoin, right? We're going to see that Bitcoin is that network because it's neutral. You can't change it. Everything is going to move on to there. Anything that has some kind of data, some kind of personal information, I think it's going to move on to Bitcoin, and I think we're going to find ways to use it, right? So just owning to use that network, it'll be worth more in the future. I think that's the way to think of it.
On the point on buy and hold, totally. So I agree, as I said before, and I think, as Francesco said, people cannot believe that such an easy, not easy, simple and boring strategy could outperform financial advisor who spend maybe 80 or 100 hours per week reviewing financial documents, PA ratio, EBITDA, revenue of companies. So for them, it's also very hard to conceptualize that just buying and holding an asset will outperform anything else. But to realize this, it takes a lot of time. I also agree on there is no second best. Last but not least, I think the path of being also a shitcoiner, meaning being interested in Bitcoin, but also in other coins, is a path common to 95% at least of Bitcoiners. There are very few who were always interested in only in Bitcoin. At the beginning, it's just Bitcoin, then other coins. Then I was also in NFTs, interested, NFTs, Web3 and so on. Then Bitcoin and something else, and then only Bitcoin. I think that's a common path.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure most people go through the shitcoin path. I don't see a problem with it though.
No, same.
I mean, if you don't understand Bitcoin, I think you need to get burned.
Yes.
right? So for example, I got burned by I can tell you what I got burned by. It was one of the Terra or Luna, one of the one that was not the stable coin.
Luna was was an altcoin. Terra was the stable coin.
I bought a little bit of it. I thought, oh, it's down. I think maybe it'll come back up. This is back when I didn't really understand Bitcoin completely. I only started really understanding Bitcoin in 2023, the end of 2023, August 2023 it was.
Okay. Yes.
August
I
2023.
also had something in Luna before the crash.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that's when I flipped. That's when I flipped, right? But before that, I didn't understand it. I was just buying. I was accumulating it. I didn't. I had altcoin. I had an altcoin portfolio at that point, right?
as many Bitcoiners.
Everybody.
As many Bitcoiners back then, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
And no, in fact, I totally agree with you. If someone is confused why Bitcoin is not crypto, it's not because he cannot, he's not understand. So he's not understanding Bitcoin because he didn't put the time. No one, without putting the right time to study, can debunk why Bitcoin is not crypto. Because if we didn't study, also we will also think, okay, Bitcoin is just the first. We could even think is all technology will be replaced by one of the new coin because they are new technology, but they need the time to study.
Yeah, time is everything. I also think time of this space has come to an end, and if you want to wrap it up, yeah. So Alessandro want to draw some final statements.
First, we can ask. Okay, we'll make mine. Then we'll ask Rajat to make his final statement. Rajat, thanks again for joining here. I think great discussion with you. I got to know you in Twitter and looking at your tweets or X now, it was clear how much time you spend on Bitcoin. So it's great that we are connected also in Telegram and we did this space together. I'm sure many insights were very good insight for people interested in Bitcoin and for Bitcoiners as well, because even if you spend hundreds or even thousands of hours, it's always a pleasure to listen to other Bitcoiners. For the podcast, thanks Francesco to co-host. Next week we will have also Prince Philip on Tuesday and James Lavish on Wednesday, so it's double appointment. We are focusing to keep very good content, high quality content to try to educate people generally on Bitcoin and even more on Bitcoin as a store of value. So for me, thanks all and see you in the next episode. Now, Rajat, if you would like to have some close remarks from you, and then Francesco.
Yeah, definitely. I posted a video in this I guess in this conversation. At the top there, you should see it. Watch that video. I put in a lot of time into making it. I think even if you understand Bitcoin at a very deep level, I think it'll be entertaining. I think you'll find some value in it. I tried to put a lot of time into it. That's what I'm saying. Watch that video. I started posting a lot more on YouTube. I started before I didn't want to post long form content. I was shy. I was scared to do it, but I got over that, and now I post a lot of long form content on YouTube. I've tried to start posting videos once a week, maybe once every twice a week or so. Try to have a podcast conversation. So if anybody even wants to have a conversation with me, and we can just record it, and I can just post it on my YouTube. I want to get this information out there as much as possible. Send me a DM, and I can get that out there. If Alessandro, if you can send me this conversation, I can share it on there as well.
Yes, we will post also in YouTube, in Spotify, and by next week I will send you the link. Sure.
Perfect.
Yeah, of course, I already retweeted it. Is very good to have some content from a professional from the traditional finance industry, so you can see the difference. People can refer to it as actually everything is possible with Bitcoin and in Bitcoin. And the point is that not only is important to gain knowledge about it, but you just another work is also to preserve it, because unfortunately crypto thing now is not going to end. The ETF got approved, so it's going on, and that will challenge your belief that try to promote the next new level coin, and then that if really you don't cement your beliefs and you keep studying it, you might get scammed. So stay always with a high level of attention. And it was an amazing night. We all learned a lot. Just to the audience, follow the host and cost to get notified for the next content. It was great. Thank you, Rajat. Thank you, Alessandro. And see you on the next outstanding guest we are going to have.
Bye. Thanks all.
Thank you so much, guys.
Bye.
Oh, sorry. I just meant to say thank you so much for having me, guys.
Thanks, Rajat. Thanks a lot. Bye all.
Bye.